And what in heaven's name brought you to Casablanca?
My health. I came to Casablanca for the waters.
The waters? What waters? We're in the desert.
I was misinformed.
He taught me, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent.
You're tearing me apart!
What?
You say one thing, he says another, and everybody changes back again!
It's the Al Travis Show. It is, of course, Suicide Prevention on the Air Day across Minnesota. You get the opportunity to go to save.org, take a look at what they do, and it's a ton. We're going to talk about it today. Hit the donate button, and everything you donate will be doubled. Our guest today is Aric. He's going to be sitting with me most of the day, and he gets to meet Senator Aric Putnam, our regulars on our Wednesday. Senator, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Thanks for having me on, Aric, today.
Yeah, we're exposing Aric for all that he's worth.
And I think we got to have a contest on who thinks spells their name correctly or not, but we'll leave that for another time.
Yeah, yeah, both non-traditional. Both I got to check every time I send an email that I put it in right. Aric Putnam, A-R-I-C, Aric, E-R-I-C-H, and not like the Aric that was in my high school. So I don't know. Anyway, just so you know, Senator, what we're talking about is SAVE. They got a couple of things done here last year. One was getting a warning label put on kids' websites or apps. Whatever, getting on the warning label, say watch out. I like that. I actually do. And the other one was a safety barrier on the bridge there at the University of Minnesota, where a lot of people make some bad decisions. And I think that both great things. They run the website for SAVE, and we're trying to get people to raise money. So that's why Aric's here. Have you guys ever met?
I don't think so, but I admire your work. I'm hearing about it from Al and all the other sort of stuff. I'm glad you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah,
well, appreciate it.
He's a good cat. So I'm going to throw these topics out. We're going to talk about them together. And Aric, I'd love your input on them. Not often do I say, when everything's said and done, that I think everybody got it right. There are a lot of bumps down the road, but I'm talking about the Senator Nicole Mitchell got sentenced yesterday for her conviction, and roughly comes out 6 months. And I think she actually has, the rest is, if she does 6 months in jail, the rest is all like on probation afterwards. But if she's really good, she gets out in 4. And the judge said you could do this in, I think it's Ramsey County, whatever county she lives in, so that she's closer to her kids and she can get work release because she got a job at some fast food restaurant. And I'm reading it and I'm thinking to myself, you had to give her something. And this seemed about right for me. There's a penalty here. She's got a job. She can keep doing her job. I presume the kids will come and eat lunch every day if they want to see mom. I think this is about as good as you could get when you get a felony charge. Your thought, Senator, was this, to me, this ended up being fair.
No, I agree. I think it sounds spot on. I think that it's a good thing when we take into consideration some of the variables that influence someone to do a crime and how that crime actually manifests. She got the minimum. Which I think is good, but she also got some of those other considerations. But it's super important to realize that it's not because she's a senator that she's getting the kind of consideration that she is. I think she got a fair deal and a fair consequence, and it had nothing to do with her job. Because we talked about this before. Like, I actually tried to change the law when she kept postponing her trial, because I don't like special treatment for people who have my job. And if anything, we should get worse treatment.
I think you should look into it. I would say if you took Senator off her name, and Aric, I'll ask you this, if you took Senator off her name, she's still, up until that point, as far as I know, had no priors. She was in the service. She was a commander. She'd fought for the country. I think the minimum, I would still, even if she wasn't a senator, I'd think, okay, that was fair. You okay with it? What do you think is just a common guy in Minnesota? Did she get a fair shake?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
No,
you're just common guy here.
Here's what I would say. I don't have a comment about the sentencing. What I do have a comment about, I think Senator Putnam raised this. She has 2 foster kids. And, part of our goal and objective as a suicide prevention organization is to be mindful of the impact that some of these things that we call social determinants of health have on people's mental health. So when you think about that, and if you're the judge, you're pondering that impact that sentence is going to have on those 2 kids. And I think the reality is that those are 2 kids whose mom is in the public eye. Got to be a lot of strain, a lot of stress. And so I think the opportunity to have your foster mom in your life continuing to help care for you is going to have an impact on their own mental health down the road. So I think from that perspective, I think, again, we need to be mindful of the human cost of these types of things, and certainly it extends far beyond Senator Mitchell.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree at all. Senator Putnam, it's also the type of crime. I mean, if we're going to talk what punishment is, right, it's to keep you from doing it again. I have no doubt this is not going to happen again in her life, right? How do I say it? If it's a drug deal, right? If it was a drug deal, we let you back out. A lot of drug dealers go sell drugs again. You want to stop it, so maybe it's a little harsher to scare you off. I don't feel any thought that Senator Mitchell is going to try this again in 6 months. I don't have any fear of that.
Yeah, I think we're pretty safe on that front. I mean, I also think that this sends a pretty strong message to other legislators to not commit burglary, which is probably a pretty good thing for us to learn. Because I'm telling you, man, we're a wily bunch, a sneaky wily bunch.
This whole last go round showed that. I mean, a lot of stuff went on in the last session that I wouldn't really put my badge of honor on it. But people are people. I do be quite frank. You're still going to have, whether you're a senator or a representative, you're still a person, and you're going to do stupid stuff sometimes. They just do. There's just an average number of people, and they do an average number of stupid things.
Well, and that's what's so important about what Aric said and what Aric's organization does is that when you make bad decisions, they shouldn't be decisions that ruin your life.
That's right.
That we need to have people around other people when they make bad decisions to help them make better decisions in the future. And it shouldn't merely be punitive. It always has to be recuperative because the goal is to have a healthy, thriving society. So when you do something dumb, and everyone's going to do something dumb, you got to have people around you to help you do something less dumb next time.
Let me ask you this. When it comes to that and helping people, I don't think anyone just all of a sudden has, oops, I had a very bad day and I make bad decisions. I'm using naked guy at the Capitol, just naked guy at the Capitol example, right? I will bet you $100 that somewhere along the line, this guy had other interesting facts that people noticed about him. I don't know what it would be, but he had other things. You don't just show up at the Capitol and that's your first thing. Is it a lack of mental health professionals in our state? Is it a lack of money? This guy was taken to a hospital and calling himself the governor and been naked in the Capitol, and that wasn't enough to get him some serious help. Is it because we don't have enough help? We don't have enough money? Or are we just letting everybody be everybody, even if you're showing signs of not being quite right? Senator.
Oh, this one's for me. I thought that was
fair. Oh no, this is the money. No, this is the money because we talked about.
I'll jump in after you, Senator.
Okay,
get my own
sure. Well, Aric, you got to know this is a bit confusing for me because having you here is like having an adult in the room. One, and two, like by you being here, you have single-handedly increased our audit, like the people who are listening to us by 35%. Because usually me and Al's moms, like those are the only ones who typically listen. But to your question, which is a serious and important one, I think there's at least three parts. And first is I think that we have decaying social relations generally. Like just culturally, people don't hang out with each other enough. They don't have the kind of closer connections that we need to have. But secondly, we don't have enough mentors in our life of just people who are older to kind of show us these sorts of things. And the third and the most important one that you're getting to, at least for this conversation, is that we don't have enough professionals who are trained in it. So we have informal relationships, then we have like sort of mentoring relationships, and then we don't have people with the expertise. And we got to the point where as a society, we don't really care about expertise anymore. We saw that about a soda, which about a midafin, whatever. Like we don't care about the kind of work that goes into being an expert anymore, and we don't value the people who deal with our feelings. I mean, if you look at the care industry as a whole, we don't have enough CNAs, we don't have enough guidance counselors, we don't have enough social workers. People don't go into those industries because we don't pay those people enough. And we don't treat them well enough because we think that they're supposed to suffer for their care. And that's not the way that you build a healthy society.
I do not like when you tell the truth, Putnam. I really don't, because the problem with what you just said is even if we threw money at the problem, let's pay for mental health experts to get the expertise. And you're talking a generation down the road. You got to get people then go to school and do that. There's no easy. Your thoughts, Aric? I'm sorry I jumped on. He just ticked me off.
No,
his answer says there's.
I think the senator's perspective is absolutely right. I mean, we live in an era of extreme loneliness and disconnection, right? We talk about how social media was supposed to bring us together. Social media has actually pushed us further and further apart. And so when we find people, it's people who are panhandlers on streets, right? Instead of thinking that giving them money is somehow helping them, I think we need to intervene and help folks that are living on the streets get mental health support, deal with substance abuse issues. I mean, these are individuals who are struggling with significant mental health issues. And so when we find situations like this individual who was in the Capitol, we got to recognize that there was probably a series of events that led that person there. May have been no disconnect. I mean, may have been no connection with family or friends or somebody else out there. And that's part of the challenge. And Senator Putnam, you get this in spades and as legislators, right? The disconnect that even you and your colleagues have with one another. I'm much older than you. I worked in the Minnesota Senate decades ago when Democrats and Republicans all they could fight like hell on the floor of the legislature. And then after they were done, they go have a beer with each other. We live in different times, and just because we live in different times doesn't mean we shouldn't be doubling down on the need to provide connection to one another, because it's the only way we're going to dig ourselves out of some of these holes.
Oh, that was really profound. I want to talk about that, a continuation of that. I got to go to break first. When we come back, we'll talk about that homeless encampment in Minneapolis where like 4 people were shot over the weekend, and evidently the guy who owns the land just lets it be for a homeless encampment. And I want to talk about how we can clean that up, because again, I think I told Aric this before, if I was homeless, the last place I want to be is a whole bunch of other folks who would put me in harm's way. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know why we're allowing them all to sit around. We'll talk about it with Aric Putnam and Aric Michie right after this.
September is Suicide Prevention Month, a time to raise awareness, support survivors, and save lives. Here in Minnesota, September 24th is Suicide Prevention on the Air Day. Every dollar raised will support SAVE, Suicide Awareness Voices of Education, providing education, advocacy, and programs of hope. And on that day, your gift will go twice as far, because every donation will be matched dollar for dollar. Visit save.org to see our work, learn how you can help, and donate. Remember September 24th, because every voice can save a life.
Dust from livestock buildings can be harmful to your animals and to you. Coughing animals can lead to costly vet visits and other serious health problems. Now there's an environmentally safe solution for your dust problems. It's called Dust Lock. Dust Lock can control the dust all summer long with just one application. Protect your animals and your health with Dust Lock. Learn more at dustlock.com.
as in alligator. L also in alligator. But it's not alligator. It's the Al Travis Show.
And we're very lucky to have both Aric Michion with Save.org and Senator Aric Putnam on the program. When we went to the break, here's what I was talking about. There's an encampment in Hennepin County last weekend before. 7 people shot. One has since passed, and the city went in then, and it was on private property. Cleaned this thing up. It had to use big machinery. This is a small little town on this guy's property. And what I don't understand is, if you're to that point where this is your option or the one you chose, why are we not there? Why? Maybe there's no law that says you can't just group up like that on private property. I don't know. But obviously that's a concentrated group of folks who are making some pretty bad decisions in life to end up that was all they had. Why aren't we there full force with the Dr. Phils that are under our employ, or the human services people that can help them get housing or whatever? How do they end up there until something like this happens, and then we got to clean it up with a bulldozer? Aric Putnam looked at me like, is it my turn to talk? I'm not trying to be a trapping question. I live in the middle of no place. We don't have that many people don't live out in my town, let alone in one guy's tent city.
Well, it's kind of weird. I mean, as you mentioned, like it's person's private property, so there's a different relationship between what the state can and cannot do on someone's private property. But the question of why aren't there people there helping? I don't know that there aren't. I mean, I think that everyone knows when it comes to folks who are unhoused right now that a roof is not the only thing people need. And so you see a lot of the new places that are getting put up, like the Aviva Village in downtown Minneapolis, and the new one they're building an Aviva Village out here in St. Cloud right now. And it's you don't just store people, you help them.
Yep.
And I think that's the new theory that's operating with a lot of the work that folks are doing with folks who don't house. So I hope we keep doing it.
Fair enough, Aric Michigan. But I would presume, and I don't know the numbers.
First, God forbid Dr. Phil is the person who's going to show up to provide. Want to be clear about that. I will again.
100% of Eric's endorsed that. 100% of Eric's on the show are.
I just don't know that a doctor anyone. Okay, doctor.
Yeah. So you got to have like a real doctor, right? Not
yes, agreed. 100%.
Right. So here's what I would say. Again, I echo Senator Putnam's perspective on this. One, we don't know whether there are or aren't people there. What we do know is this: that a significant percentage of that population of individuals that are at these locations are folks that need help. They need substance abuse help. They need mental health help. A lot of help. One of the things that maybe sometime we get a chance to spend some more time with Senator Putnam on another show, but Senator, you're the chair. I think you're the chair of the Senate Ag Committee. Is that right?
I am, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, Al, we've talked about this, right? We talk about folks in rural communities in particular, where we're starting to see a significant crises and increases in suicidal ideation and suicide, and those are struggling places because of the farm economy and things like that. But it still comes back to this central issue, which is access to resources, right? Rural communities have specific challenges. Access to broadband, right? They've got challenges being able to get help. There's the social stigma that's tied to mental health and to suicide. And so, those stigmas are alive and well, unfortunately, in rural communities as much as they are inside of urban centers. And so we've got to be willing to have these tough conversations at a time when all of us need help at some point in our lives. That's why, Al, you continue to talk about the importance of 988. That's a free resources to anybody, anywhere in the country at any time. So just recognizing that the folks that are in those homeless camps, right, we can look at them and we can turn away and look at them disdainfully and look down our nose at them, or we can recognize they're fellow human beings that actually need our help.
See, that's kind of my point is, again, with the farm community out here where I'm at, it's when times are very tough. I would bet one of the biggest indicators of the possibility of a suicide is a financial issue, correct? I mean, when things get tough, I've lost my job, I did whatever, you start thinking that way. That's why the homeless encampment bothers me. I would think if you're there, you have the feeling of no way out. That's as much as age groups or professions, the lack of profession or the lack of money has got to be one of the leading indicators on whether you're going to have problems. It's temporary, but people don't see it that way.
Well, not always temporary. Social determinants of health relate to things like lack of access to health care, lack of housing, lack of finances, right? All of those play a role. I mean, we talk a lot about mental health and its connection to suicide, much more complex than that. There are individuals that are struggling out there with situations like not having access to healthcare, not having a job, not having a roof over your head. That could lead to the sense of, despair, right?
Yep.
And those are critical issues that we need to talk about.
And Alan, you think of those pressures in rural Minnesota in particular, this year our number of farmer lender mediation meetings is 4 times what it was last year.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to farmers when I first got this gig a couple of years ago. And mental health's always been a concern of mine. So I bring it up, and the first farmer says, the best thing you can do to make improve mental health of farmers is make it suck less to be a farmer.
Wow.
And I thought, yeah, that's been something that's been
Wow.
really important to me as doing ag policy. But the other thing that I think that Eric's bringing up too is that some of these solutions can be different in different neighborhoods and different areas, that locality, because it's about relationship. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my great friend Scott Roeder here in St. Cloud, who's done tremendous work. And his son Jackson, he sells his son Jackson's art to raise money for suicide prevention. So while we should send all our money to save.org, we should also look up Jackson Roeder and Scott Roeder and the work that they're doing, especially with 988.
I'm glad you brought it up. We are out of time for this round. Senator Putnam, we'll get you back here next week. Stick around with New York. I know we got a bunch of folks coming up. It's the Al Travis Show, and it is a great day today. If you want to help us out, it's called Suicide Prevention on the Air Day. Go to save.org. Give till it hurts a little bit. More right after this.